These aren't the only 5 by any means, right? Happy 5 Fact Friday. 5 Fact Friday. I'm Charlie Lambden, and it is 5 Fact. Good afternoon. I nearly said good morning. Good afternoon, everybody. It's Charlie Lambden. This is Moving Home with Charlie, and this is yet another 5 Fact Friday where I bring to you 5 of the most important newly reported facts from the last 7 days, so there can be no discussion or argument. This is not a matter of opinion. This video is all about facts. Facts you can't argue with. Or so you'd think when it comes to the ONS, but as you'll see shortly, even that's not the case. Now, I think I've improved my audio problem. Let me know if there's an audio issue. But if there is an audio issue, I'm doing a separate audio recording, which I will upload to the audio podcasts. And for those of you who are new here following for the first time, you can listen to all of my live streams on Spotify or on Apple or wherever you get your podcasts. Just go and search Moving Home with Charlie. And wherever I can, I put the links below this video to the 5 facts to support this video. This week is no less of a chaotic, underprepared mess than any other week. And with that said, let's crack straight into it. I haven't even got the right title on this. I'm just going to take that off. There we go. So I will start by giving you the headlines. Okay, so here are the 5 facts for those of you who don't have half an hour to listen to me ramble on about them. Number 1, the UK unemployment rate is now the worst since the pandemic, as reported by the ONS. They've reported that payrolled jobs are now 100,000 lower than this time last year, and job vacancies are falling for the 34th consecutive quarter. Fact number 2, an interesting story about prime central London prices being down to 2013 levels. Prime central London prices down to 2013 levels. Fact number 3, 100% mortgages are back. This is fantastic news. What could possibly go wrong? We're going into a recession and people are lending 100% of property values. We'll have a quick discussion about the pros and cons on that. That's reported by the Times. This is a kind of niche one, but I found one of you kindly shared with me a property on Rightmove that's had a £1.85 million reduction in its price. Almost a 50% drop in asking price. And I want to have a quick look at that for you, because I want to remind everybody the fact that if you're prepared to look hard and long and be prepared, there are bargains to be had. And fact number 5, yesterday the ONS reported, or was it yesterday before, that there was growth, 0.7% growth in Q1. Well, it turns out that's not a fact, and I'll be relying on my trusty colleague in the YouTube universe, Sasha Yanshin, to explain in detail exactly why the ONS is lying again, at it again, and how, to our utter astonishment, all of the media and journalists report it without any question whatsoever. And I just find this astonishing. So when we get to the end of the 5 facts, this is the 5th fact, I'm going to play you a short segment of Sasha's video, and I recommend you all watch all of it, because when you watch all of it and you realize that he only uses the ONS's own data to show that the ONS is publishing false headlines based on its own data, which says something else or misses out salient information, you start to realize, God, we actually genuinely can't trust the ONS headlines. We have to go and look at the data ourselves. And if I was a financial journalist, I'd be all over that, because it would be a great headline grabber. But sorry, Chancellor, the ONS's GDP headline depends on but I'll explain it to you later. So those are the 5 facts. Who do we have here today? Zero sum equation. Hi there, James Clark, Matt Harris. Yes, sorry I'm late. Sorry I was late. Boss Hog 36, Modi, reviewer, TW. Yes, always worth keeping an eye out in the auctions if you are an experienced buyer of property and you're buying cash. Let's start with fact number one, and this is the job vacancies and wage growth. I'm not going to go into all of it. I just picked one of them here. This is job vacancies, right? So this is the vacancies and jobs in the UK, May 2025, released on the 13th of May. So that's 3 days ago. And I'm just going to cover the main points on this. And I'm just going to read these out without any opinion or commentary on them. Let me just read these to you. The estimated number of job vacancies in the UK fell by 42,000 or 5.3% on the quarter to 761,000 in February to April 2025, which was the 34th consecutive quarterly decline. Just let that sink in, right? Total estimated vacancies were down by 131,000 or 14.7% from the level of a year ago, and 34,000 below their pre-COVID level. The number of unemployed people per vacancy was 2.1% in January to March 2025, up from 1.9% in the previous quarter. Well, that's a 10% increase in the number of unemployed people per vacancy. Anyway, sorry, no opinion, just making factual observations. This is not, I haven't got time to go into how many people aren't on payroll this year compared to this time last year. It's about 100,000 fewer, but that didn't make the headlines. No, it's all fine. And we didn't go into the fact that wage growth, whilst still positive, is starting, the wage growth is reducing slightly. It's still growing, but it's reducing slightly. And pretty much talking to anyone and listening to anyone and looking on social media, 99% of the commentary that you see in here about jobs is, I'm out of a job, my mate's out of a job, been applying for jobs, can't get a job. There are a few who go, I got a job, I got loads of jobs, I'm earning loads of money, and good for all of you guys that have. But a lot of people saying, I'm in construction, first time in years, I've got an empty order book for the next 3 months, that kind of stuff. Anyway, that's fact number one. On to fact number two. Prime central London prices falling for 3 years back down to 2013 levels. I'm saying nothing, that was my post. And this graph here, it just shows that in the last 3 years, prime central London prices have been contracting year after year. Annual growth and CPI adjusted annual growth. Okay, so the pale pink line there, let's just make sure it's big enough for you to see it properly. The pale pink line on those right-hand three, this goes back quite a few years. I think it's 20 years or something goes back. Oh, 35 years it goes back, right? So during the pandemic, we had the last big growth spurt, and it's been negative. And the real figures, inflation adjusted, have been severely negative. And the comment is, this is from Middleton Advisory Group, prices in prime central London are back to 2013 levels. In dollar terms, prices are even lower, below 2011 levels. And I'm sharing this with you guys because of how many people I still hear to this day going, oh yeah, but long term, it always goes up, doesn't it? Long term, it always goes up. Just a couple of weeks ago, I reported Hamptons saying that 20-year, so the rolling 20-year growth in house price is now, I think, 50% lower than it was 10 years ago. And for the first time in history, this is in the Financial Times, 20-year real inflation-adjusted house price growth. Why would you be interested in anything other than real house price growth? Why? No, we don't want real. No, we like unreal. We don't like real. Real sounds disappointing. For the first time ever, 20-year real house price growth is below zero. So while nominally the prices may go up over 20 years slightly, in real terms, they are now zero. That is true, correct. Go back, I can't remember which video it is. There's a Financial Times. In fact, I'm so keen to find it. I'm gonna have a quick look in my timeline, just for those of you who might have missed it. I do put a lot in my timeline. I'll recognize it straight away if I see it. Here it is. Here it is. I found it. I found it. So this is sourced from Nationwide and the ONS. This was in the Financial Times. Make it nice and big so there's no excuse, right? And there you can see that that red line, which is the long-term growth trend, average annual change over a 20-year period in percentage terms, and the red line is real. It is now at or slightly below zero. It got close to zero in the early 90s, but didn't quite get to zero. It is now at zero in that red circle. Okay, and I keep on banging this drum because of how many people I hear and see on social media every day going, but house prices always go up in the long term. Not anymore. Yes, I know you made a lot of money when you bought your property back in the 90s and the early 2000s. I know you did. It isn't the 1990s anymore. And the same won't happen again because the conditions are different. Buy a home, guys. By all means, buy a home. But just, right, on to the next one. So this will be good news for some people. Woohoo! New 100% mortgage deal launches in the UK. A quick minute or two on this, on the good and the bad on this, because I have mixed feelings about this. The mortgage will be available to first-time buyers and house movers with a household income of at least £24,000. So that includes anyone who's on minimum wage now, if you're on full-time employment and minimum wage, and will not require a deposit. Okay, so that means that anyone on minimum wage, full-time or minimum wage, can now get a mortgage without a deposit. April Mortgages said fixing the rate for a decade or more would reduce the risk of negative equity. That's not quite true. It reduces some risks, but it doesn't reduce the risk of negative equity, where the value of the property falls to less than the loan taken out against it. Now, my view on this is divided because, on the one hand, if this gives somebody on a low income the ability that they didn't previously have to buy a home that they can live in the long term, in peace, without being moved on or messed around by landlords, and they can afford it, how can that not be a good thing, right? That is a good thing. It is a good thing. And for that reason, I do support it. Now, one of the key factors here is whether or not, it's how big the multiples are of salary. And it doesn't say that in this article. It doesn't say what salary multiples they will lend on. It's good that it's a 10-year or 15-year fix. That gives good long-term certainty for the borrower, knowing what their mortgage payments are going to be, and there will be no shocks for that 10 to 15 years. And as their wages grow with inflation over the 10 to 15 years, their mortgage payments will reduce as a percentage of their overall income, as long as the government doesn't keep increasing taxes. So this is good. What could possibly be bad about this if it helps people who otherwise couldn't get onto being on the property ladder? Isn't necessarily a good thing, but getting into a home is a good thing. Well, the risk comes if, in a scenario where someone in a position where they need this mortgage takes out the mortgage, buys a home within their means, they're not overextending themselves, and then in the next 3 years or so, about 2 or 3 years, is made redundant and can't get another job. And with the housing market not growing much at the moment, generally, the spectre of negative equity then raises its ugly head, because these people, through no fault of their own, may now find themselves in the position where they can't afford their mortgage payments. And yes, they'll get forbearance for a while, but eventually the bank will say, I'm sorry, we have to take it back. Now, if the value of their house is more than their mortgage at that point, then they will lose their home and the bank will repossess the house. And the bank will, as they're legally required to do, sell the house to clear the mortgage. And if there's any money left over from the sale after they've paid the fees and everything else, the borrower will get the proceeds. But in those circumstances, there's almost never anything left over. In fact, normally, once they've paid fees and everything else, and because of the way that banks sell distressed, repossessed property, they tend to go for slightly lower than typical. And so someone taking out this mortgage in the next few months, with every reason to think that it's a perfectly reasonable, sensible, pragmatic step, who then loses their job to, I don't know, something like AI wiping out companies and jobs and stuff like that. Never mind economic downturn, never mind falling job vacancies, never mind rising unemployment, never mind all of those things. That's just all doom and gloom, right? Be positive, because being positive makes all the problems go away, doesn't it? This poor person could buy the house, lose their job through no fault of their own, be unable to get another job through no fault of their own. They're trying, they're going to interviews, they're sending out their CV, they can't get a job, lose their home. Their home isn't worth what the mortgage is outstanding on it. And they end up not only without a home, there's no equity left, the bank sells it at a loss, not enough to cover the mortgage. You're still on the hook and still in debt for whatever the shortfall on the mortgage is that the bank couldn't cover through the sale of the home. And when I point this story out, I often hear people, oh yeah, but that hardly happens to anybody. Yeah, I mean, you could say, well, hardly anybody gets stabbed. Does that make it okay? Hardly anybody gets their life ruined. So it doesn't matter if a few people do. I never understand that point of view. I never understand that point of view. Oh, it's only X percent. Oh, well, fuck them then. I simply, honestly do not get that point of view that says, yes, there'll be a few poor, unfortunate souls who lose their home, but never mind, the rest of us are okay. I just don't get that attitude. So there we are. That's that. I think it comes down to personal circumstances, and there will be people who use this mortgage product to take it out. It's 6%. I think 5.99% they're saying is the rate. There will be people who buy a home and it'll have been a great thing for them, and that's wonderful. And there'll be people who use this product as the economy continues to worsen, the jobs continue to worsen, find themselves out of work. And if it's maybe they can get a lodger in, maybe they can make ends meet. Hopefully they can, but some people won't be able to. The other aspect of it is that these 100% mortgages can and do keep prices inflated to a degree, and therefore can work against improving affordability. That's the other drawback, is that even if you individually benefit from it, affordability as a whole goes the wrong way. That's the other reason against it. So that's why I'm on the fence. All right, I'm on the fence on those. I really am. For some people, life-changingly good. For some people, life-changingly bad. For affordability overall, whilst it improves affordability for the people who can get the mortgage, it keeps prices further out of reach. Right. Next up. So we have a property here and it's a stunning place. Oh my God, it's a stunning place. And I want to just remind people what happens and why you should always, if you've got time and you're out looking, don't rule out properties that are listed way above your price range. I don't know what's happened to this one. What I do know, they took it off the market, they put it back on the market. So it was initially listed in 2022, right? Remember 2022? November 2022, when I was telling everyone that house prices were going to come down and everyone laughed at me? At 3.8 million pounds. 3 months later, they dropped the price by 300,000 to 3.5 million pounds. 5 months later, and to their credit, this is a proper reduction. They went, okay, let's start my 2.5 million pounds. No, and on we go down. Then it gets taken down. So in March last year, so over a year ago, it was up to 1.9 million pounds. Then it was delisted, and so 15 months later, it's now been relaunched to the market at 1.95 million pounds. It is a spectacular place. I mean, it's a proper stunner. Stable block. Look at the setting. Sea views. I mean, I actually think that's pretty good value for 1.95 million pounds on the North Somerset coast. Look at that. But this is my point, right? Oh God, I didn't share it. How's that not shared? Oh, it is sharing. It is sharing. This is my point: is just don't assume you can't afford the stuff that's out there. All right, you often can, and if you're on one of the long-term searches for a home and you're struggling, but there are properties that have been on the market for a long time, but they're maybe 10 or 20% outside your budget, inquire, talk to the agent and say, it's a bit pricey, but is it worth me coming to view it? Sometimes they'll say no, sometimes they'll say yes. You only need one to say, yeah, actually, it's been on such a long time, haven't spoken to them for a while. And I remind people, that's how I got my first ever property, 30% below the asking price. It was sitting there for months, no one had viewed it. I rang up and said, it's all I've got, but I'll buy it. And I got it. If you don't ask, you don't get. Always make your offer. Now, final fact of the week is GDP growth being announced at 0.7% by the ONS. No, it wasn't. And let's listen to Sasha. And the link to his full video is below. Go and watch it if you haven't seen it. Listen to this.
And look at the last two numbers, 67.6 billion minus 63.8 billion, that gives you 3.7 billion pounds. So that's almost all of the GDP growth in the last quarter that is coming from this one line called business investment. It's not coming from people buying more stuff. It's not coming from government buying more stuff. It's not coming from businesses buying more stuff. It's coming from this one line called business investment. So if you add this line and the 2.4 billion extra of US exports, the sum of those two things is more than the whole of the GDP growth in the quarter. So without those two things, GDP would be negative if those two things were flat. So of course, I went and found the data for the gross fixed capital formation in more detail to see exactly what is happening in there. Why is it going up?
Right. You get the point. Hang on. If you want to see more, he spells it out, and it's a smoking gun. And he gets, and every single piece of evidence he uses on his screen is from the ONS, right? He uses their own data to hoist them for their misleading figures. And so the reason this is important is because when people hear, oh, the economy is growing again, it gives them false hope about the economy and about employment prospects and about spending. It's the kind of thing that makes people who are thinking of closing their business down think, maybe if I hold on a bit longer, it'll come back. And it's false hope, and they end up in even worse situations. People are thinking of buying, and you're buying a house, and they're like, oh, maybe if it's too bad, I'm not going to buy, but if it's okay, oh, it's picked up, and everyone says it's picked up. Oh, maybe it's safe again. I'll go ahead and buy. It creates false and misplaced confidence. Okay, we are, to all intents and purposes, and officially on a per capita basis, in a deep recession. I don't care. Sasha, someone called Sasha takes on UK, says that guy needs to iron his shirt. Me? You talking about me or you? Go and iron your own shirt. Hi, Sasha. Great video, by the way. Just in this video, unlike his previous one where Sasha talks about the ONS employment figures, he didn't tell the ONS to fuck off. But I think, and they entirely deserved it last time around, I think they deserved it even more this time around for pumping out this headline. But it's all the journalists not questioning. It's like, you kind of want to get them and shake them by the lapels and go, why aren't you reporting what people really want to know? Which is that that's fake growth. Anyway, guys, I'm afraid I must hit the road. It's been great. If you are new here, please remember, if you're selling your home, always get your conveyancer appointed before you choose your agent. Why? It means you'll sell faster and your agent will give you a lower fee. Talk to my guys here. These are multiple award-winning conveyancing companies that are just exceptional. Get your finances set up as well, whether you're buying or selling and buying. Talk to my mortgage brokers if you haven't got anyone that you trust. Make sure you get your ducks in a row. Get your property search pack lined up as well. I can help you with that too. Please do that. If you use my conveyancers, don't worry about it. They'll be using me anyway. But sellers, don't overprice. Choose your agent like your future depends on it, because it does. Buyers, always buy a home if you can. If you found one that you want to live in, you can afford it, always buy a home. No matter what's happened in the economy, just don't overpay. Overpaying is subjective. It depends on your personal circumstances, but don't put yourself into a position you're not prepared to risk if things go wrong. Have a fantastic week.